Namo Vishnu Padaya Vishtaye Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Samti Namne Devi Sarasati Devi Gauravani Vichaline Sri Shishanya Hari Ishtatala Satani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare. Right, so we're coming to the edging to the end of chapter 6, and yesterday we left off with text 34. Anyone can remember basically what we was reading yesterday? You can look in the Gita there if you like.
I can remember, because I know that was
Yeah,
how the mind is restless, turbulent, and Arjuna says it's difficult to control it, like the wild wind.
Yeah, that's it. And I think I also read it's like trying to, in one of the commentaries he described, like trying to hold a hurricane in a pot.
Yeah.
Trying to put a hurricane in it. That's what it's like. So Krishna's spent quite some time speaking about this process of Astanga and Dhyana. And at the end, Arjuna rejects it as not being practical, as not being possible. And so and then he reiterates that something was being mentioned before. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. Yeah. Sometimes I observe devotees, sometimes I've seen where persons come to Krishna consciousness, especially young people. Sometimes they come from quite a background of drug abuse, disabuse, etc., etc. And you heard of this thing called attention deficit. It's called syndrome. Yeah, attention deficit syndrome, where persons can literally not concentrate on anything for more than 2 seconds. Go here, there. So sometimes difficult for them to really take to the process of bhakti. Yeah, of course, the process of bhakti is very powerful, and association devotees is very powerful. But sometimes you can see it. You can see the mind manifest in its full mode of being restless, turbulent, and also bhala, very strong. So Arjuna's got doubts about what Krishna's just explained. So picking it up from there, from text 35, where Krishna begins to answer Arjuna's doubts. Okay. Oh, I didn't get my Bhagavad Gita ready. Okay, 1 second. I've got to go in my book thing. Okay, Bhagavad Gita. Double clicking. Here it comes. Now share screen. In the meantime, someone could put their thumb up or hand up for reading, and we'll share. Oh, I've got so many things on my desktop today. 20 things there. I've got to find Bhagavad Gita. There it is. Hare Krishna. Okay, you can see Bhagavad Gita as it is. You can see it there. So let's have someone read text 35. So Krishna is now going to answer. And very interesting for us. Very interesting. Krishna's answers to Arjuna's doubts. So Mother Gaia, please go ahead. In the meantime, I'm going to clear my desktop up.
Can we see the Sanskrit, please?
Yes, you can. Sorry. There you go. Hare Krishna.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
What was it? This
It's blurry.
It's blur.
Okay, now I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. Thank you. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena Chagrahyate. Translation. Lord Shri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Purport. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna
Oh,
consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging, I'm guessing. Can you change the page?
Oh, sorry, for purging the mind, excuse me.
Purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called parishanubhuti, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Now I was reading, I was looking through the commentaries on this by the Acharyas, and there's something very striking about Prabhupada's purport here. So I'll explain what it is. But first of all, I'll read Shuddha Swami's commentary, just a short paragraph here. So he states, responding in regard to Arjuna's queries about control of the mind, Lord Krishna states that the mind is almost impossible to control. Yet by constant practice, abdication from sense objects, by dispassion and repeated meditation on the Atma or soul, it is possible to restrain and control the mind, with the senses withdrawn, being freed from the obstacles of lethargy and distractions by means of incessant practice and dispassion. The mind remains immersed in the Supreme Self. It is stated in the Vedic scriptures that the tranquil mind in equanimity resides in the Brahman or spiritual substratum pervading all existence. Free from all conceptions and modifications is what is known as samadhi. And the other commentaries of the Acharyas follow in the same vein. So hearing that, can someone highlight what Prabhupada mentions, which is not mentioned specifically by Shuddha Swami in this purport? Have a wild guess. So Shuddha Swami is pointing out about, for instance, by constant practice of meditation, by abdication, by keeping oneself away from sense objects, and by dispassion, being free from passion and ignorance, and repeated meditation on the soul, then it's possible to restrain the mind. So there's something he's not mentioning here, which Prabhupada mentions. I give you a challenge here. to identify that. I can't hear Ram Shakti. If you're speaking, I can see.
Compassion?
No, but sorry. I'll wait till anybody else is
It's not compassion. That was mentioned yesterday. I think we mentioned that. Compassion. No.
By Shimi Prabhupada's always, all his purpose are all about performing devotional service.
Yeah, you've got it.
Yes, and when you were reading in the beginning, I was just thinking that as long as we are performing devotional service, the better way would do it, the more advanced, detached we would become. So everything depends on performing devotional service. That means the 9 processes of devotional service.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So Srila Prabhupada is, especially Srila Prabhupada is, no doubt he's representing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore the medicine for everyone is basically focuses around chanting the holy name. But also Prabhupada is giving the process of devotional service. Practically, yeah, that's the point I was going to make. That it is practically, it describes it, this is practical. Now, the point I was going to make is because Prabhupada's feeling the pulse of this age of Kali. Prabhupada's, I think he gave these purports to Bhagavad Gita as it is when he was first arrived in New York. He was writing the purports to Bhagavad Gita in the early days. So he was exposed to the hippies and Kali Yuga in its, if you can say, the full manifestation, or at least the beginning of, of Kali. So, and Prabhupada could practically see that what's going to help them is not classes on meditation, but to keep engaged in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Then Prabhupada speaks about that. The more, so this is the means. So by suitable practice. So that's what we've been given, as Mother Chandravali said, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smarana Padasevanam, Achanam Bandhanam Dasya, Sakyam Atmanivedanam. So that means we kind of come to terms with our wayward minds and our stubborn minds, and all what described here, our unbridled minds, but we have a quality of being stubborn ourselves. Meaning, okay, my mind's going here, my mind's going there, but I'm going to do my regulated devotional activities. I'm going to go into the temple and make garlands for the Lord. Yeah. I'm going to attend the Sangha. Yeah. Regardless of what my mind and senses are saying. So that's suitable practice. So if we keep on doing that, that's the suitable practice. Then gradually the mind will get the idea. The mind will start to do what we want it to do more often. But still we have to keep a tabs on it, because knowing the tendency of the mind, we should always be, it's not as if, we should always, the mind can bolt at any moment. So we have to keep it engaged in Krishna consciousness. So
can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah.
With the Rota, I speak to lots of devotees, and I find that devotees quite often feel, this day is not conducive for me to do this service because this, there, and that's going on in the whatever, So they swap and change services according to how they feel. But I find that when you are struggling with, not so much struggling, but you are in that kind of situations, then you can work with your mind. You can, work with your mind better, and you can extract what you need to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
like when I'm cooking and it's like
Yeah.
I've got difficulty, whatever. I still put myself in that situation. So then I myself think how I am going wrong, what I should do, how should I do it? Because to be in situations like that is good for your. I feel that for you to improve in your sadhana. Does that make sense, or am I going wrong way?
No, as you can guess, devotees who don't know, Mother Chandravali, she's in charge of organizing all the service for Radha Londonishvara. So she's in charge of organizing the schedule, of who does what. So that's why she's speaking in this way. Yeah. So I mean, others can comment. Yes, in essence, I would say we should identify. We should be able to. It's good to identify when we're being too whimsical. For instance, there's a specific service that which is scheduled for us or we've agreed to do, but the mind may get the better of us, may convince us that actually, this is happening or this, and give various excuses. And they might not be appropriate. And it might mean that the mind is getting a stronger hand. But having said that, also there might be situations and circumstances where it may be, dare I say it, Chandravali is in charge of the schedule, there may be circumstances where it may be better to adjust the service if it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that also there may be situations, So I guess we're speaking about the practicalities of doing.
No, I wasn't really more speaking about the schedule. I'm more speaking about myself.
Yeah.
More myself, putting myself. Sometimes it is difficult situation. I feel, oh no, maybe I shouldn't do service with this person. But then I think, why? I need to improve,
Yeah, yeah.
So it was more a question for myself, my mind. Am I working with my mind properly?
Exactly.
Or should you disappear from that service?
Yeah, I understand. So this is called manashiksha. Yeah.
Yes, I need to work with my mind, not because if I give up, that's something else will come up later on in life. And then would I run away from that again? This is how I'm preaching to my mind. Should you run away from situation, or should you work with it and improve yourself? This is what I wanted to understand.
Yeah, that's more clear now. Yeah, thank you. And that's a
Sorry, I didn't mean to. It wasn't scheduled. I'm more myself. I'm talking about myself.
So we're speaking now about this here. Suitable practice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Suitable practice. And that's what Prabhupada basically, Prabhupada is explaining about the practical or engaging in devotional service. And Mother Chandravali has given an example of how the mind may bring up various reasons, the whimsical mind, but sometimes you just got to give it some manashiksha, some parameters, and continue with one's devotional activities. Anyone else has any more comments on this? Have a look here. And so detachment. What does Prabhupada mean about detachment? So the word for detachment is vairagya.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. So there has to be a wedge. There has to be a wedge between the senses and the sense objects. That wedge is the principle of sense control by living by certain principles. Yeah. I will not eat meat, for example. Yeah. That gives you, that is a sense that is creating space. You create some, because we have the principles that we follow. Yeah. So that will create a natural. So the more we're distanced from the sense objects, it may be imposed at first, imposed upon us. We take on vows, but the more we can keep away from the sense objects, then the more we're going to be naturally detached. Yeah. It will create a natural detachment. So in other words, life has to be guided by certain principles. So in other words, I think the next verse describes that one cannot be successful in yoga if there's no principle of sense control. There has to be a sense of detachment, which means you're not addicted, or you're not enslaved, or you're not attached. You are actually renouncing those things which are not favorable for your devotional practice. So that's what Prabhupada, I think anyone else could comment on that. As far as I've understood, this is what Prabhupada is saying by vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Yeah, and then Prabhupada correlates, as he often does, impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. And this is the point which is not mentioned, interestingly, by at least by the acharyas I've got commentaries from here. Yeah. So Prabhupada brings out here, this is practical. Hearing about Krishna, become attached to him. This attachment is called Paresh Anubhuti. Now, this is from a verse in the Bhagavatam that describes that by engagement, one automatically experiences, when engaged in devotional service, one automatically experiences detachment, relief from suffering, and satisfaction. Yeah, Paresh Anubhuti. Spirit, that's why Prabhupada is paraphrasing this verse from the Bhagavatam. Spiritual satisfaction. And he gives it, and he's quoting the verse here, actually. I shall find a verse here, because Prabhupada is paraphrasing here. He's paraphrasing a specific verse from the Bhagavatam. And I've got it. Oh, 1 second. You're going to see me disappear into the Vrindavan background behind me. Hare Krishna.
Mhm.
Right, I got thrown out of Vrindavan. Came back. It wouldn't let me in.
It's amazing how you just can disappear and come out.
Yeah. All right, let me find that verse. I'm determined to find that verse and share it with you. Where Prabhupada's. That's what's nice about learning verses. After a few years, you learn verses, and you get to see Prabhupada's. He always speaks according to Sastras. So here's the verse from Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada said, he's mentioning here this word, Paresh Anubhuti, spiritual satisfaction. So it comes from this verse here. Bhakti Paresh Anubhavo Viraktir Anyecha Chesha Tri Ekakala Papadya Manasya Yatashanatush Tusti Pusti Kusut Payo Nagasam. So just look at this here and see how Prabhupada's using that verse here. You'll see. Okay. Translation. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things, these three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the same way as pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger come simultaneously and increasingly with each bite for a person engaged in eating. So that's from 11th canto, 2nd chapter. You can see Prabhupada said here, just like so he feels just, it is just the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every mouthful of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Yeah, so no one has to tell you. You know within yourself that you can feel it positively, that you are full when you're eating. So similarly, when we're engaging in Krishna consciousness, we can feel it practically. We feel satisfied. As described here, we feel a sense of gratitude or devotion to Krishna. That gives a sense of detachment. Yeah. And that's likened yeah, in the same way as pleasure, nourishment, relief from hunger come for a hungry person engaged in eating. So Prabhupada, and then he mentions here as well. It is like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Anyway, there's quite a lengthy purport to this verse as well in the Bhagavatam, which elaborates even more here, but we won't go there, it'll take too long. Yeah. And this is nice. Hearing the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore the expert treatment for the mad mind. And eating foodstuff is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. Wonderful how Prabhupada writes, isn't it?
Mm.
Right, so here's Krishna's, this is Krishna's answer to Arjuna. Any further comments on that? Yeah. Otherwise, we can go to the next verse.
I wanted to ask, did Siddharth Swami, you read the purport
Yeah.
or explanation. Did he say something about you meditate on the super soul or something? There was a sentence like that.
About meditation on the Atma or soul. He doesn't specifically mention the super soul.
Atma.
He does mention later in that quote. The mind remains immersed in the, well, he says the supreme self. So I think he's here indicating the soul as opposed to the body. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So,
I was thinking he meant super soul, and then there would be like yogis do. So
yeah.
I connect.
He says that just meditating on the fact that we are soul and we are not this body. And that's also
right.
as well. Then we can be detached from the demands of
The body. Right.
Kind of, he said here, he used a word by dispassion. Yeah. Abdication, he uses old word and dispassion. So if our senses are given us or trying to tempt us one way or the other, he's bringing up the point you should meditate that you're soul. Yeah.
Right. That I'm the soul, not the body. Right.
Yeah. We are not the body. So that's also relevant as well. But Prabhupada gives a different. He explains engage the mind in Krishna's service, As I said, perhaps, he could, this is practical. Yeah. Especially in this day and age,
Because we've talked before, when in a translation, there's nothing about performing devotional service. Yet Prabhupada always brings purpose into devotional service, one way or the other.
Yeah, this is a point we've been reminding ourselves throughout this specific chapter. It's about
so just shows that when something is in forefront, like for Prabhupada devotional service is forefront, and that's the most important, then everything is connected to that point.
Yeah, like we take it for granted, but the other day at our Sunday feast, I was sitting next to one young Indian man coming from a Brahmin family, and he said he's just starting to read the Bhagavad Gita. He's coming from a Brahmin family. So I said, "Oh, you just started, have you? You come from a Brahmin family." All right. That's one thing. And then he was saying, as far as he's understood from the Bhagavad Gita that he's reading, the goal is that we merge into Krishna and the Krishna merges into us. It was, of course, I had a great time. I had a great Sunday feast there. I was, and it didn't take much. I was telling him the correct Siddhanta according to Bhagavad Gita as it is, and he was listening and he was taking it on, and he was asking about how to, I was told him to chant, and he was asking other questions. But that's an example that we read this and we mention it quite often, and Prabhupada's bringing it to our attention for his purpose. But most commentaries on Bhagavad Gita will give you an impersonal commentary, just like this Brahmin who I met.
I
Brahmin.
tell you, but I went to, you know, Indians, when they leave their body, they do the 12th and the 13th, they think.
Yeah. Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, my family was upset because I didn't do it for Rishikesh. I did by sponsoring different things. And then I went to one, and what they do is, this Brahman was telling, you know, when the soul goes, it's going through all these different things. And for 1 year, you need to supply that soul with all the things it needs, clothes, food, everything, right? That the soul, bed, clothes, you know, everything you have to supply. So this Brahman was just teaching, and how once the soul goes to Brahmajyoti, how it, because it's unhappy, so it just merges with Krishna and it's happy there. And then for the whole day, I was like so mad. And he was telling us to put a pound every time there was, like, you know, something that was, I wasn't putting any money. And the thing is, this Brahman then has got boxes and boxes of all the food stuff and clothes, saris, these, dhotis, everything that he's going to take home, that these people have supplied for their souls that departed. I tell you, it's right, money-making thing. And then there's envelope. There's one envelope in the box with all the things, and there's one that you offer to Krishna that eventually will go to him anyway. Wow, you know.
That's amazing. So he said, yeah, you should offer clothes to your deceased and food, and
For
give
1
it,
year, 1 year.
give it to me, and I'm gonna send it on up.
Because we're Brahmins. Yeah, he said, because we're Brahmins, so you can give it to Brahmins. I was thinking, should I stand up and say, I'm a Brahmin, give it all to me?
Yeah, you can understand that it's quite, I mean, some of the things you're saying there, that is part of the Vedic marg. There is, but it's all it's all interpolated and confused with the impersonal understanding. Yeah. So that's a classic. Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's read another.
I get criticized because I didn't do Rishikesh's, but I wasn't going to do that kind of thing.
You should have spoke up and said, according to Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have Mother Sahachari. You'd like to read text 36.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mother.
It's 30.
36, is that correct? Did I get
36. Okay, thank you. Asamyatma atmana yoga dusprapa iti me mati vasyatmana tuyatata sakyavaptum upayatha. For one whose mind is unbright, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self-realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Such a show of yoga may be materially lucrative, but it is useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. Therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor. But a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious. Thank you.
Okay. Any immediate questions here? But it has to be proper treatment. Yeah. Scribes, yeah. Yeah, the right proper treatment. There was something I was going to say, it just slipped my mind. Yeah. So yeah, then the Prabhupada is highlighting the practice of yoga without this central point of living by certain principles. So anyway, today's yoga is quite a joke, you know. There are some yoga teachers who teach, at least they do teach, that the point of all these asanas, the most important point is the breathing, is to stay focused. Some of them, if you're being a bit charitable, they do bring that in. Others, yoga is for increasing one's, dare I say it, sex life, etc., etc. They've got no idea. They're completely, but real, because, brothers, and trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yeah, yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Yeah? Maybe materially lucrative. So we have to accept some principles. Yeah? We have to accept some virtues and principles. That's what's basically being said here. By appropriate means is assured of success. All right. Let's read another verse. Let's read a few verses today. Let's have someone read text 37. Any questions or comments, please feel free to ask. Yeah, I can read this one. Here, yeah. Arjuna Vacha Ayati Shvatayo Peto Yoga Chalita Manasaha Arapya Yoga Samsitim Kam Katim Krishna Kachati. Familiar words there. Chalita Manasa. Is it Chalita? Deviated Manasa. Here's a question. Now Arjuna is asking a question here. Let's just get the basis of this question. Yeah. Okay, translation. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly-mindedness, and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Someone who doesn't see the process through to its ultimate end, but goes back in the direction that they came from." So purport. The path of self-realization or mysticism is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Basic principle of self-realization is knowledge that the living entity is not this material body, but that he is different from it, and that his happiness is in eternal life, bliss, and knowledge. These are transcendental, beyond both body and mind. Self-realization is sought by the path of knowledge, by the practice of the eightfold system of bhakti yoga. Okay. I know what the eightfold system of yoga is, but Prabhupada mentions the eightfold system of bhakti yoga. Okay, we'll comment now after. In each of these processes, one has to realize the constitutional position of the living entity, his relationship with God, and the activities whereby he can re-establish the lost link and achieve the highest perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness. Following any of the above-mentioned three methods, one is sure to reach the supreme goal sooner or later. So those three methods are, let's go back, understanding or realize one's constitutional position as a soul. So that's Sambandha, isn't it? We described this in a class earlier today. Sambandha. Acting in
Knowledge, path of knowledge.
Abhidheya, acting in one's constitutional relation, and the activities to establish a lost relation, a lost link. That's prayojana. Okay. Following any of the above mentioned three methods, one is sure to reach, if I've understood it correctly, following any of the above mentioned three methods, one is sure to reach the supreme goal sooner or later. Yeah, sooner or later. For us, for many, it might be later. But sooner or later. This was asserted by the Lord in the second chapter. What's that verse? Nehi bikramu nashvasti pratyavayo navijite sunapamidamasya trayati mahato bayat. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can save one from the greatest fear. That Prabhupada is referring to that verse there. This was asserted by the Lord in the second chapter. Even a little endeavor on the transcendental path offers great hope for deliverance. Out of these three methods, the path of... Oh, perhaps I didn't understand that correctly. For these three methods, the path of Bhakti Yoga is especially suitable for this age, because it is the most direct method of God realization. To be doubly assured, Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna to confirm his former statement. One may sincerely accept the path of self-realization, but the process of cultivation of knowledge and the practice of the eightfold yoga system are generally very difficult for this age. Therefore, despite constant endeavor, one may fail for many reasons. First of all, one may not be sufficiently serious about following the process. To pursue the transcendental path is more or less to declare war on the illusory energy. Consequently, whenever a person tries to escape the clutches of the illusory energy, she tries to defeat the practitioner by various allurements. A conditioned soul is already allured by the modes of material energy. There is every chance of being allured again, even while performing transcendental disciplines. This is called yoga chalita manasa, deviation from the transcendental path. Arjuna is inquisitive to know the results of deviation from the path of self-realization. Right, so quite a little bit in here. Any questions here or comments or observations here? Yeah, I'm just looking here.
You just mentioned the eightfold system of Bhakti Yoga.
Yeah.
But I see I just looked up something quickly, and Bhagavad Gita, I think it's 529. The eightfold yoga system is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. Would that be?
Yeah, that's correct. So then Prabhupada is speaking about these, for instance, let's together try and get the eightfold yoga practice. First is yama and niyama. That means when you're on a path of yoga, so you have to change your lifestyle. You have to clean your lifestyle up. You have to accept what's favorable and reject what's unfavorable. So that's followed. Then there's yama and niyama. And next is
asana.
Asana. So I guess we could correlate that for sitting down and chanting Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah, or being, asana. Pratyahara. No.
Pranayama.
Pranayama is next, yeah. Breathing process. Yeah. Yeah. Controlling the breathing. Now that controlling the breathing is a mechanical means of controlling the mind, because you have to meditate. For instance, you breathe in. You can try it now. Breathing for 7 seconds. Hold the breath for 7 seconds. Breathe out for 7 seconds. Hold the breath at the end for 7 seconds. So you're meditating like that. Yeah. That's why it's considered very important. So that's covered, obviously, is that we chant Krishna's holy name. Yeah. So we've got yama, niyama, asana, pranayam. What's next? These I forget. These next is different. We've mentioned it in our classes. The different levels of meditation. Yeah. Dhyana, dhyana. Anyone could know what they are? Anyone can perhaps look.
It says dharana is concentration.
But yeah, if you could read through those, Mother Lavanga, if you've got them there in front of you.
Yeah, it says yama, abstinences.
Okay, yeah.
Niyama is observances. Asana, yoga postures. Pranayama, breath control. Pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses. Dharana, concentration. Dhyana, meditation. And samadhi, absorption.
Yeah. So as we've been reading as well, isn't it, in regards to chanting Hare Krishna, all these are achieved in relationship to Krishna. Yeah. That's why Prabhupada says here, he likens Bhakti Yoga to the eightfold system. Then at the end, he mentions it again here. One may sincerely accept the path of self-realization, but the process of cultivation of knowledge and the practice of eightfold yoga system are generally very difficult. All right, he says that. Therefore, despite constant effort, one may fail for many reasons. So then Prabhupada is speaking about declaring war on the illusory energy. Sometimes it may feel like that. The person tries to escape the clutches of the illusory energy. So see this here. Now, is it that I can explain the question here. Is Maya, or is Maya consciously trying to distract us?
Constantly trying to distract us.
Yeah,
but we're holding on to Maya also.
Yeah, basically we're going in the right direction here. Yes. So
maybe she's just reciprocating with our desires. She knows our material desires, so she's testing us with those, perhaps.
Yeah, so objectively, then the material world and everything that goes along with it is placed here to satisfy our wayward desires. But the point I'm trying to bring out here is that, for instance, I give an innocent example. If you're walking past, say we may made vows to only eat that which has been made by devotees living on nice principle, yeah. Then you walk past a bakery. It's got all these wonderful chocolate eclairs and whatever, So is the chocolate eclair or the things in the shop saying, are they consciously calling? They're not, because it is matter. Matter is not conscious.
Yes, but they are emitting a fragrance. That's very nice.
Yeah, they're emitting a fragrance. You could say that. But then, but it's not as if they're saying, "Oh, here comes a Hare Krishna." It's like matter. It's not conscious. But it brings up to the point which you said. One time, the story is that one king was asking a brahmana, "Please, can you show me Maya? Everyone says it's like this or like that, but I want to understand simply what is Maya, so I can really understand it. Fed up with these lengthy lectures. just tell me, so I can easily understand." So he said, "Okay, you come then you come tomorrow in your royal gardens, Your Honor. So Pacific time, then a Brahmin, he had hold of a tree, saying, "Let me go, let me go, let me go." And the king was bemused. He said, "You fool, you have hold of the tree. The tree doesn't have hold of you." He said, "Ah, this is Maya.
I remember that.
This is Maya." Yeah. Because of our conditioned state of our conditioned mind, we relate to the tastes and sensations which are stored within our mind and senses. When we see something, the mind kind of automatically correlates how we felt when we met that sense object. And then the memory of the comes. It's all our doing, so to speak. So yeah, so you can, for instance, you can walk past a bakery, you can walk past all the shops with all these dazzling things. They do not drag you in. It's we who choose to go in. But it's, as I bring that out, because here, because so that's the war. The war is our unconditioned nature. That's the war. But having said that, Papa does say though, here, he says it, consequently, when a person tries to escape the clutches of the illusory energy, he tries to defeat a practitioner by various allurements. So it seems like the material energy has this selfless service of really making sure only the really sincere and qualified person escape and go back to the spiritual. So there's two sides here. Anyway,
yeah, I just have a question, Prue, about like sometimes we say, "Oh, Krishna is testing me." Is that Krishna testing us via the agency of material nature, or is he testing us himself, or is he helping us get through the test of Maya?
Well, generally, for the general practitioner, Krishna doesn't have to do anything fancy. He's already done it. He's already created material energy. He's already created females for males and males for females. There's going to be a whole battle there. Krishna doesn't have to personally get involved. Now, as one advances in Krishna consciousness, then one comes to face with really kind of inbuilt, subtle contaminations or desires. So Krishna may highlight that for our own purification. Yeah. Anyone could confirm this, or I can't think of sastric quotes exactly. I'm just giving general understanding. For instance, there's even descriptions of in the Bhagavatam of the demigods put obstacles in the path of the ascending bhakta.
Yeah, Lord Indra does quite a few times.
Yeah, well, that's when he's concerned someone's going to take his position.
Yes.
So I'm just saying that there are tests. But Krishna is not, he's tests that come from becoming aware of our deeply conditioned nature. So that may become apparent. But then we should learn to take deeper shelter of Krishna. But so in answer to your question, in general, Krishna doesn't have to. Krishna's already done it. He's already arranged a whole Kalita Manasa. He's already arranged a whole material world to allure someone who may not be qualified. But in latter stages, there may be tests that Krishna may give his bhakta, but he gives that to bring him forward in devotion, not to take him away. Anyway, any comments on that? I feel I'm going to realms.
I've heard that Krishna only tests you to the point when he knows that you're going to get over this. You're going to be able to cope with this.
Yeah. So
he doesn't give you anything that you won't be able to do.
Yeah. So, in other words, Krishna is not, I guess, we generally use the word test, but Krishna is not testing us. Krishna's making us stronger. That's a better way to explain it. Krishna gives us things to make us attached to him. He's not like, yeah, he's going to test you, you know, let's see if you pass the test, you know. You might not. Not like that. Krishna just wants us to go further and wants us to give up things. So he will, things will manifest within the heart that he wants us to give up. But that gets translated often by devotee. Oh, I'm really getting tested. It's not. Krishna's just showing you things that he wants you to put aside so that you can come closer. And yeah. And on the other side, taking it from the other perspective, like in the beginning stages of bhakti, that's how devotees translate their own attraction, for instance, to the sense objects. Oh, I'm getting tested. Because they're just, what they're doing is they're just commenting upon their attachment to the sense objects. But now they've been told that these are not good for spiritual life. So, oh, well, I'm really getting tested, Prabhu. Well, no, yeah, you're getting, yeah, it is a test in one sense, but what you're saying is that you're really feeling attracted to the material energy. But now,
I feel like when devotees first join, everything is so beautiful. Krishna gives everything, association, kirtans, deities, everything is there for you. Then at a certain stage, then the purification starts, you know. Once you are well into it, then Krishna said, okay, now I'm going to make you a bit sincere, you know. And similarly, I feel the same thing with Maya. Maya is like putting things in your path because she wants to make sure that you are ready to go back to Krishna, completely surrendered, you know, 100%, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So often, yeah, you mentioned that's because when we enter, it's just like when you enter anything new, a new way of life, a new situation, then you're dealing with a new set of sense objects or sensory awareness, you know, so you're quite engaged, you know. Then after some time, you become a little bit, what's the word, complacent. You become quite used to the atmosphere. So in order to stay in that, you've got to go deeper, which means, say, materially, means you've got to remember you're going to get a pay package at the end of the month. But at first, I know I experienced that when I first got a new job. It was like quite engaging, you know, with different people, different things I have to do. And you get to know, and you're getting to know people. But then after some time, you know everyone, you know what to do. Then it's so the same. So I'm just saying that often in devotion service like that, you enter into a new lifestyle completely, but then you get accustomed to it. Then you get accustomed. So then you have to go a bit deeper. Yeah, rather than because you've been to, you've been to you've been to Bhagavatam class 10,000 times.
Yeah.
You've been on the Harinam 2,000 times. No, you've made garlands 15,000 times. So then you got to go a bit deeper. You got to find, Krishna wants to go deeper for doing our particular. We're doing our specific services. I'm giving another angle on this point of Krishna giving you. Seems to there's a higher taste. I'm sure there is. In order for us to get pulled out of gross material life, Krishna, there is devotees experience extraordinary experiences. I'm sure many of us could late, and I experienced that extraordinary, profound experiences that I could not ignore. So that's definitely there. But then, after some time as well, when you engage in the activities of bhakti, you might get a little bit
I tell you, about 10, 20 years ago, whenever I first joined, I was really an advanced devotee. A real advanced devotee, because I met this really advanced couple, and we were just discussing, talking. She said, "Gosh, I got so many anathas." She was just saying things like that. This is not right. That's not right. And I was going, I don't feel anything. I'm feeling really good. I don't think I have any of these anathas.
Yeah,
that was that many years ago, and now I realize what I have got.
Yeah.
When you first knew, you're so happy and so this. No, you don't realize that you got this envy, jealousy, pride, ego, whatever. You think, no, I'm perfect.
Yeah, that was one of my realizations as well. Sorry, Devotee, it's going over a couple of minutes. I remember I said to in one class, and the Nam Sankirtan came to me after Devotee was with us. I mentioned there's one thing I realized after practicing Krishna consciousness for 25 years, and he was really eager to hear what I've learned after 25 years. I said, the one thing I've learned is that I am a conditioned soul. That's after 25. Yeah. But then there's there's that, you come down to earth. But if we follow and we chant without the fence, we will experience an increasing wonderful experience and taste in devotion to Krishna. Yeah. That will become much more than what we experienced in the beginning. It's not like, okay, in the beginning, it's bliss, and then for the rest of your life, it's not. No, it's not like that. In the beginning, there's bliss. Then you come to your conditioned nature. Then you surrender yourself to the process, and you surrender to trying to chant with attention, and you surrender to taking shelter of bhakti. Then there will be a unmistakable, wonderful experience that comes the more we practice, So it's not exactly like written that it has to be, okay, after a certain amount of time, you're going to now struggle. No, there's these different, we've mentioned many times the different levels, different stages, nishta, ruchi, shakti, bhava. All this should be happening. Now, if one's making offenses or not, for instance, not paying attention while, if we're making offenses to the holy name and making offenses to Vaishnavas, that's another scenario. Yeah. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Perhaps we'll stop there. 7:05. Hare Krishna, thank you for listening in. I think it's more me and Chandravali having a conversation.
Sorry, did I talk too much? I'm sorry.
No, you're not speaking enough. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's good. It's sometimes good to have thank you for listening in. And what's the date? Today's Wednesday, isn't it? So tomorrow we're on Bhagavatamrita. Okay.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Ramana Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.